I'm going to call the meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody. We'll start out with the prayer with Steve Ayers, Lifeline Connect Church, and the pledge.
Let's pray. Lord, again, I thank you for the very breath that we have. We thank you for these men and women that lead our community. Lord, I pray that you give them wisdom and guidance in every decision that they make. Lord, we just thank you for the opportunities that you put across our path. I pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Barth.
Here.
Bassett.
Here.
Beverly.
Here.
Egley. Here. Martin. Here. Klepper.
Here. Okay, next on the agenda, Roy Kloffenstein. He's a candidate for House Representatives, 82nd District. If you could step at the podium, got a microphone so everybody can hear you.
I don't know. I feel like I'm preaching if I have to stand behind
Yeah.
here, and I don't know that I want to preach. So, I am Roy Kloffenstein. I met you all, and don't quiz me on your names till a few meetings later. I want to tell a little bit about myself. I have two older brothers and two older sisters. I was the youngest of five. Grew up in southern Paulding County on a farm. My dad was a contractor till the late 60s, and then decided to start farming and farm the ground instead of having it farmed out. So I grew up as a farm boy, 4-H. We didn't have FFA at that time, but active in 4-H. My dad was born in 17, and the reason I bring that up is whether we like it or not, we're products of our parents. And my dad grew up during the Depression, and even though he didn't always tell me about how to spend money, it was well communicated. And when I say it was well communicated, you didn't spend money you didn't have on something you didn't need. And the reason I say that is because sort of my philosophy, and those that know me in here, is when I got elected to be a county commissioner, I had a very simple philosophy. If I wouldn't spend my money on it, I'm not going to spend your money on it. And I tend to think that sometimes if we don't discipline ourselves, it's very easy to spend somebody else's money. And I get aggravated when I look at the national level. I get aggravated at the state level. I hope people don't get aggravated with me at the local level. Married Deborah. We'll celebrate 40 years in March. We have 4 sons. They were all teenagers at once, and we survived that. The youngest is now 26. The oldest is 31. The exciting part of that is we have 2 grandsons. The oldest and youngest are married. The middle 2 are single. The second son farms with me full-time farmer. The oldest one works for Ohio State University. He's an engineer. The youngest is an engineer, and we say works for the dark side. He works for Case IH. And the number 3 son lives in Colorado and works for a company called Trimble. Trimble makes a lot of auto steer if you're related to a farmer, and they have auto steer tractors or yield monitors, surveying, anyone that's in that field, that's what Trimble does. As I thought about running for commissioner, and I am in my 3rd term, when I go back 10 years, I was pretty content with where I was at. And we had a county commissioner that decided not to run, or Tony Berkeley actually went on to run for state office, and somebody called and says, hey, you need to step up and do it. I said, okay, I'll go serve a term. That's my civic duty. I'll serve a term, and then I'll go back home. Well, here I am in my 3rd term. I enjoy it. I used to tell people I enjoy it 99% of the time. It's down a couple percent, but I still enjoy it. I still have a passion to make our community better. One son lives local. I'm waiting for the day another one moves back local. As I look at the past year and a half, if there wasn't a time you were proud or thankful, and maybe thankful is a proper word to live in Northwest Ohio, I don't know if you ever will be thankful. I dislike, and maybe that's not the correct word, but when I think the federal government tells us how to take care of ourselves as far as health care. I think we would have been better off had we been left alone here to deal with the coronavirus. Why am I running? I have a sort of a passion when somebody asks me a question, especially in the farming sector. We have the Farm Service Agency which deals with all the programs. And farmers tend to complain sometimes. Don't know if you've ever heard that, but the farm programs are detailed and they're overburdensome and they're a pain. But yet if you ask a farmer, are you willing to go to Washington and serve in USDA in an appointed position and try and make the farm program better, they invariably have always said, ain't no way I'm going to Washington. Would you go to Columbus and serve? No way I wouldn't go to Columbus and serve. So when Craig decided not to run for this office, I got a number of phone calls and said, will you do it? It took me a while. I wasn't something I was looking to do. I really enjoy where I'm at. I have a son farming with me full time. He's not real happy with me at the moment, but he'll get over it. So I decided, you know what, my background of 40 years in business, in the third term as a commissioner, lends to what I think we need back here. I don't plan to change the world. I guess when I look at Columbus, I want to tell you that I would like to push back when they want to push out their big city values. I think what we have here is pretty good. In fact, I think it's the best in Ohio, but I'm biased. But one of the things, when I went into the commissioner's position, I had no idea I would every week with our prosecutor, and invariably every week we have a legal issue to discuss. And it just drives me nuts. I wasn't used to that coming from the private sector. So I want to push back against bureaucracy. I think we can make better decisions locally. In fact, I'm sure we can make better decisions locally. Whether that's successful, I don't know, but that's what I sort of believe in. And I guess at that point, I could keep talking, but do you have specific questions for me? Boy, that's good. I'm sure you will later. In the essence of time, I won't keep talking. I will stay and listen to your meeting. I passed out cards. I've only had one cell phone number my whole life. It's on there. Call me, let a message, text if you got a question. I won't say I get calls all hours of the day, but it's close. Feel free to reach out if you've got a concern. If anything, let me know. And I look forward to your support. I would like to say I would like to be back to another meeting or two before the primary. We'll see. Realistically, it's pretty difficult. I'm trying to make as many meetings as I can, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Roy.
appreciate it.
Okay, approval of the February the 7th regular council meeting. Any additions,
Correction.
corrections?
On the part where Amy Hoffman was here from Former Energy, that second paragraph where it says, note, if a resident or business chooses to opt out of aggregation, can easily be done with, when the contract ends. That would be, if they're already on contract with a different vendor. So like, for instance, I'm with another company,
Or if
they can opt out anytime they want.
but if
This
they're
one
in
was
the middle
saying,
of-
opt out at the end of the contract. That's
Yeah, I
the
got
part
that from their website. If they're opted in, automatically they're in a contract of whatever everybody else is in, but they may decide they don't want to be in it. And if they don't wait till the end of the contract, no matter who it's with, there could be a penalty.
That's not the way I
Even-
understood it. Because I'm with Muirfield Energy, at home, the school, I think the village maybe, and if, I won't automatically be enrolled into the program since I'm with a third party, a different one, but if I let that one lapse, I wouldn't automatically enroll in theirs, but I could opt out. But if I try to get out of my contract with Muirfield and go with the aggregation of Palmer, there might be a penalty on me to get out of my current contract with Muirfield. But I think that's I guess the part when I read it, it didn't quite make 100% sense, saying it can easily be done at the end of the contract if somebody would like to opt out of the aggregation. She made it sound like you can opt out at any time for a resident.
I know. I'll check, but I did get that right off their website, but I'll check before this gets official.
And she did say that there could be an early withdrawal penalty if you opt out of another one. They're not responsible for any of that kind of stuff. They're
Right, if you're with another.
Yeah.
Or not aggregation, but another, what do they call it?
third party
Third-party.
power purchase agreement with somebody else.
Well, with Gerald's checking into that, I move you're all right, let's go.
Second,
I'll second that.
roll call.
Beverly?
Yep.
Klepper?
Yes.
Bassett?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Barth?
Yes.
Egley?
Yes.
Okay, you have before you the bills to be paid. It's just that one page, right?
Uh-huh, that's
Okay.
it.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept them.
Make motion to
I was
approve.
just gonna ask,
Oh.
I see Sherwin-Williams, were we finally able to get some street paint?
Mhm.
And
That's what that is.
Perfect. Other than that, what is the TriTech software systems?
It's for the police department software.
Other than that, I make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Barth?
Abstain.
Bassett?
Yes.
Beverly?
Yes.
Klepper?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Egley?
Yes.
Okay, in boards and commissions, I see none unless somebody's got to report. Council committee reports. The Personnel Committee met February the 7th. Minutes are in the packet.
Mayor, the Street Line Property had set up a meeting to begin the discussions of a new municipal building. Weather permitting or weather not permitting, we called the meeting off, and it is now rescheduled for March 3rd at 5:15 here in the municipal building.
March 3rd.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay,
5:15.
so this is your first meeting.
It
Yeah.
will be our first meeting.
Okay. And it's just the Street and Light Committee, the three right now.
Correct.
May work, when you get further along, add a few people that are involved.
We will, Taylor has some ideas that have stem back a year or so. We want Taylor at the meeting. Taylor knows this. We had everything set up and we had our, Cheryl was ready to go. We were ready.
I was the only one here.
Then the freezing rain happened.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
so,
March the 3rd.
yep,
Okay, thanks.
thank you.
Charlie, you have anything on personnel, or like I
So
say?
at the personnel meeting we had on February 7th, we talked about a applicant for the wastewater superintendent position. And Corey met with him, spoke with him, he seemed to be hands-on. However, once we got a hold of his resume, it looked like he had multiple positions with different municipalities over the last 3 or 4 years. He had pretty high upfront demands. And he was gonna be living about an hour away, and he had other businesses that he was involved with, so we voted to continue the search for another applicant at that time. But I think since then and now, is there still another person that's came back that we had interviewed previously? So I don't have an update on that from Corey, but Eric sounds like he does. The only other thing we talked about of importance was Jesse had inquired about Troy Sargent's replacement as he's approaching retirement. Since then, his retirement date also has changed, but we had then scheduled a finance committee meeting that Eric will speak about getting someone to replace Troy when that time comes. And then Cheryl told me from our January 6th Personnel Committee meeting, there was a couple of items that we had to vote on before we move forward with Kim's position as tax administrator. She's recommendation is to promote her to senior tax administrator. And we all agreed on that, the committee agreed to do that, so we have to do a vote. And then the other item was for April's pay rate while she's doing mayor's court. While she's doing mayor's court duties, we agreed that she should be paid the higher rate of pay during those hours that she works in mayor's court.
Does that require a vote? I know Kim does.
Kim does for sure, I think so. She's. Yeah, it probably does.
Okay.
Probably should.
Can we do them both together or separate? Okay.
I'll make a motion to promote Kim from a normal tax administrator to a senior tax administrator.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Clipper,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Egley,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Beverly.
Yes.
I make a motion to have April get paid at the higher rate while she's doing the mayor court duties.
Second.
Any other discussion before we vote? Roll call?
Egley,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Clipper,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Barth.
Yes.
That's all I had unless anybody has questions about my minutes.
They got a question for Charlie or his committee?
Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, thanks. That was finance?
Personnel.
Personnel, okay, finance committee. You got a long page.
And so we met February 16th. The meeting was actually called to order to talk about Troy Sargent's possibly retiring in March of 2023. He has a vast knowledge of the village. He knows more in his head than what we have written down on paper anywhere, and we'd like to have somebody come in and train with him as much as possible, cross-train. We were told March of 2023, and it was not budgeted for 2022 to bring somebody in to train. Corey and Cheryl and the committee all talked, and we thought we could possibly split up the person's wages between all three departments, the water, the sewer, the street. Everyone pay a third, and with that individual, if we hopefully find a good candidate, focused on the water portion of it, but also being able to help out with all three departments. We would be able to have the funds available for that if we started that person, give them 6 months of training with Troy. So initially, the committee was unanimous 3-0 to post the opening in August, post it for 30 days, interview in September, start in October. That would get us 3 months in 2022, and then 3 months before he retired, so would give him 6 months. And we found out a couple of days later, after the minutes were given to Troy, that he actually doesn't plan on retiring until September 2023 now, instead of March 2023. So I don't know what you guys think now on still bringing the individual in, possibly 3 months in 2022 if the budget can afford it and get the extra training with Troy. So that was one item we talked about. The other one was the open wastewater superintendent position. We haven't had a lot of luck finding an individual. IFM is who we're still contracted through. We're paying them quite a bit of money, like $9,400 a month for 20 hours a week to have an operator on record. We did, it is reposted, and Corey did pay for a position for like Indeed. He hasn't had a lot of luck, but he did have one person that applied the first time around, actually took a tour of the plant, expressed some interest, but at that time the salary that we had posted was a little lower. It's been raised a little bit, and the candidate is interested again, and so it was the same candidate that was moving back to Paulding and getting married and would like to be closer to home. And so we also talked about that individual and possibly maybe hiring another individual with another town, for example, Edgerton or Paulding or something along those lines, and split an operator of record. That was another idea we had, or that got brought up. Ads are posted until March 4th. We're going to see who all applies for that position, and then we'll decide after that what we're going to do. Personnel committee will probably decide that. And then also we planned on meeting on Thursday, February 17th, to discuss the municipal building, the new village office facility, looking into it. We're also kind of figuring out how much money we had available for something like this. And Cheryl was saying we had about $25,000 for hiring somebody. And so we're going to meet on Thursday, and then the weather had us cancel the meeting and reschedule for March 3rd at 5:15. So that was it, unless you guys have any questions.
For Troy's, the guy that's gonna shadow with Troy, when you put that out, are you kind of
gonna say that it would be good if you had a license or be willing to get one within a certain time?
The part about getting a license within so much time, yeah. Ideally, they come in with a license.
Yeah, yeah,
But otherwise, yeah, it'll be posted that they'd have to get a license within so much time.
super. And to answer, you kind of questioned us in general, if we should cut back on the original times that you had set. The more time
I agree.
that you can give this guy that's gonna shadow, the better.
And you get the possibility you hire somebody in here and 3 months later, during the probationary period, it wasn't working out.
Exactly.
We have time to hire somebody
Yep.
else and still cross train, so.
And you have to, it's gonna be tough for one guy to learn 30 years of stuff
Yeah.
in 12 months.
The other idea about bringing the person in and, 3 months, October, November, December, is he or she would be able to see the process of winterizing facilities. And then being there all the way until September the following year, which we thought March, you'd be able to see opening up everything before Troy left too. So you kind of see the whole system of opening and closing up a lot of different areas of the facility, or of the village, I guess, so.
The valving and stuff are gonna be the secrets that need to be learned, and we don't want them covered over snow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Great.
he knows all the size of all the
Oh,
mains and the
every-
laterals and everything, I mean,
Yes. Yep, he's the
But
guy.
is that a guarantee that he's gonna leave then? I mean.
no,
nothing's
there's
in
not a guarantee. He
writing,
said the
so-
earliest he would be September 2023.
The earliest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm a little concerned on that, could go
That
on for
could
another
change.
couple of years.
Cause
But-
is he eligible to retire now? Yeah, I thought so. So,
Yeah,
Okay,
I think a
I
big
just-
thing there too is we haven't had that extra staff person on the water department like we typically have, correct?
Correct, we've been one guy short for a long time.
Right.
So-
Okay,
water.
Yeah.
all right. Any other questions for Eric? Okay, thanks, committee, Eric and committee. Administrators report. I guess Corey's not here. You have it in front of you. Any questions on that, on his report?
Does anybody remember how far down they were gonna widen the road? Is it just within the village?
To Elm?
The plan was their plan was from
MCO?
18 out to 240, north up to 249.
Okay.
They would go clear to Maine?
I believe that was their initial proposal.
I think it was Elm.
Elm.
I thought
Right
it
in
was
front of
Elm.
Nemco there.
It is Elm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that other stretch was already paved here a while back when we got the new water line put in.
I'd hate if we had to wait for CSX to widen that over 4 foot.
I drove out through there, I drive out there a lot, going to my kid's house, but I kind of paid attention the other day driving out there. I don't see where there's all these poles and stuff to be moved.
My main concern, so it looks like he says there's a utility pole and several mailboxes. And I talked with Corey today a little bit about that. And Troy actually mentioned that we do have an older water line that would be covered, from what I understand, with the new pavement. So that was a concern. But I kind of asked him, I mean, that's a pretty high truck trafficked area
Oh,
out to
yes.
Industrial Drive. So I think that's something that I think we need to discuss.
I hate
rather
to
than
miss
just
this
make-
opportunity to.
Rather than just make a unilateral decision there. So
Yep.
I think it's something we really should examine a little bit more.
Yes, I hate to miss the opportunity to get this done for free.
Well, that there said would, all that other stuff would be cost of the village.
The
Some of that.
mailboxes.
Yeah,
Just the
move them.
mailboxes?
I think
Oh,
the
okay.
mail.
The mailboxes, I mean, this has to be compared to what it would cost us if we wanted to do it 10 years down the
Right.
road. It has to be a very minute cost.
Our committee meets next Thursday, we can bring that up.
Do we have time to wait till next Thursday?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think that's something that we really do need to discuss and maybe get resident.
Yeah,
feedback, too.
and on the topic where you said that would put one of the old water lines under asphalt, we've got miles of water line under asphalt in this town.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that should even bear on it.
I'm not sure how old that water main is, but it'd be, the vibration might cause more if the road's wide.
me.
Yeah.
I
All
think
that train is.
Troy's concern was that would put truck traffic directly over it, and with it being an older one. But I'm assuming that if they're gonna widen it, they're gonna widen it with ODOT standards.
Right, right.
So it's not like they're being careless when they're doing it, so.
Yeah, because here he says after much discussion, it was decided not to widen the road within the village.
Well, and yeah, the discussion was within
Right.
his office in the
Not
water department.
right, okay.
But I agree with you 100%, Taylor. We can't drop it here. It's got to go on to. So Eric's at his meeting, or somehow we've got to keep this going and get back with the county and
Especially with the upcoming project.
yes,
Industrial Drive.
yes,
Because
yes.
there's gonna be a lot more turns that direction as well, so I think it's something that does need to be revisited.
I'm with you 100%.
Good.
I had brought up the fact, though, at that intersection, if there was any way we can widen that to get the trucks to turn a little bit better and wider, I mean, it's another opportunity.
That big pole that sits there at Hamlet, get $11 million and you can move that back 3 foot.
That's all.
Yeah.
But like I said, the more and more truck traffic, the more
Yeah,
you're
he's
gonna
right.
have an impact on that corner right there. And again, we looked at it when we did the water line there and repaved
They
Musargon
have.
up to Maine. I mean, if it's a situation where we can get something changed now, I think that was something else that maybe you could have a look at.
The only beauty of it is that every time that a trucker does snap that pole, they do move it back a couple feet or so. So if we
The
can.
trucker.
It is,
continue
it is better. It used to be right on the corner.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
You're right, when it's been hit, yeah.
Yep.
And ODOT's gonna be resurfacing this spring, is that what I remember?
Correct.
Not
Not that area.
there,
County-
state routes.
Throughout the village.
That's not a state route, but, well, that's a truck route, so going
No,
out north
but-
of Maine.
You know, ever since I was 30 years old, they had talked about making that 49. And
Oh, yeah.
it's still not a dead idea amongst the big boys in higher places than what we are. But, and there's got to be some reason why they're pushing that on out, widening it that.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Did he say why they were opposed to widening it?
It was the the cost of moving 29 mailboxes.
That was it? It was solely based on that?
And then the fact that it would cover water line.
Just, okay, so those two things.
Okay, any other questions? Good comments?
Let's stay with it.
The only other thing on his report, I know he's not here, I do know that he had one person apply for that janitor position, and he plans on interviewing them this week, tomorrow.
Yeah, 9 AM, I think.
Okay,
Who will be in charge of you going to get a hold of the county or have Corey? You get with
I'll
Corey?
get with Corey.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, solicitor's report.
First thing I have is ordinance 2022-03, first reading by caption only, an ordinance authorizing the village fiscal officer to transfer funds and declaring an emergency.
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Barth,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Klepper,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Egley.
Yes.
Second, third readings of ordinance 2022-03 by caption only, an ordinance authorizing the village fiscal officer to transfer funds and declaring an emergency.
So move.
Second.
Roll call?
Barth,
Yes.
Egley,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Klepper.
Yes.
The only, well, two other issues. The one issue we discussed the last time, I had about half of a draft done on a form facilities usage agreement. This goes back to the long-standing conversation about the background checks that we decided on the liability insurance. But I had some email correspondence with Tony at the end of last week or over the weekend. And with the upcoming baseball season, obviously, we talked about that was going to apply across the board, not just for baseball. But with that and having that expectation, I told her I'll have that done probably around next week, at least a draft of it next week at this time. But that to get it in the minutes or whatever, somebody, if they wanted to, could offer a motion basically saying, and I know we discussed it, that we were going to require that liability insurance, with the village named as an additional insured, so that the people like the baseball association could start going out and shopping and knowing what they're going to need to get. And then that obviously will only be one paragraph in the overall agreement, but that way it's of record and everybody can be told that, and whoever has to pass it along, and then they can.
Didn't we make that vote last meeting?
I thought we did
Okay,
resolution.
okay. Then if that's so, then that's fine. I just wanted to make sure
We did.
some,
It's in
We're just
the-
waiting for a
in the
resolution
minutes.
or
It
ordinance.
is, it's
yeah.
in the.
well, and that's what I'm saying is there isn't gonna be a resolution specific to the insurance issue. There's gonna be a form facilities usage agreement that we're gonna adopt that's gonna include that as one of the paragraphs, and it'll apply whether we're talking about fields at the park or the pavilion, or, you know, if somebody wants to use this room for, you know, regular club meetings or whatever. So, okay, we had exchanged those emails, and I just wanted to make sure that,
That good enough?
yeah. Yeah. So a minimum of $1 million, and it should name the village as an additional insured on it. And that's what it's gonna say in that paragraph in the agreement, so I'll get that finalized and forwarded on, and then, hopefully at the next meeting, we can bring something to approve that, and then obviously we'll have to get that to them for execution, but I know we're coming up when they're gonna be starting doing their stuff, and so the sooner they had the information, so they can get with insurance agents or whatever and figure out what they need better. And the third thing, I think, Ron, when we can do it at the end of the meeting, is gonna ask for an executive session to discuss, real estate, sale
And economic development.
and economic development.
Can I go back and ask a question though, when because you brought up pavilion, even renting this or coming into this building, is it, I'm just saying, you have
It should be.
families that- should everything be, have liability?
Should be.
Family, birthday parties, things of that nature, renting the pavilion,
Should be.
you know, for a couple hours? Has to be
Yeah, I don't know.
Pavilion rental.
That's why I wanna read it before I ever
Yeah.
vote on it.
Yeah. I mean, it should be, if you're gonna do it, it should be.
If we have a 1 hour birthday party, gotta get $1 million life insurance or liability insurance
What's
policy.
it gonna cost, $15 for an hour?
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's all based upon what the risk is,
Well, and do we rent the pavilion for 1 hour?
probably for,
We rent it
Half
for
day
a
or
day,
day.
but it's not part of the park. It's separate from the park.
it doesn't have, is it village property or isn't it?
Yes.
Then it's,
Yeah.
that's why I say this room right here.
So we have a 1 day minimum.
What if,
rental.
the Cub Scouts wanna meet and it happens that we can accommodate them, that they can meet, however often they meet, every Monday in this room? I mean, theoretically, the same requirement should apply.
Wow. I think,
Well, we discussed that last time, though. We had kind of talked about how we wanted to make it specific, and you talked about making kind of a broad form that we could then individualize
Right.
later. But for the sake of getting the initial thing going, can we separate those two and
Yeah, I
discuss
mean,
that later?
Yeah, you can do it that way.
I think if that discussion, I think we have the liability discussion, that determination, we've already voted on.
Right.
Everybody's of the same opinion. I think we probably then need to decide which facility usages require a lease or some sort of rental.
So you wanna
agreement.
just state the park?
Well, I think it depends on the scenario. So
Park,
if,
the
well,
park
I
will
think we need to-
eliminate all of this and.
Well, we need to
pavilion?
define what requires a rental agreement.
Right.
That is, I think that is sort of the conversation based more so than getting into using this building. I mean, by that definition, like beautification committee, which I think is an independent organization, is that right? So I think we need to figure out what,
Yeah.
basically what requires a rental agreement.
Right.
And the stipulation should be that anything.
Well,
that
I think the
requires a
point
rental
was,
agreement-
all along, we've been saying we haven't been trying to single out the baseball association or whatever, and that's why I was doing a general format of something that
Yeah.
could be used for other, and I guess along that line, I mean, I wasn't even anticipating that it be specific to say sports, because you could say, well, if they revive the old soccer league or whatever, and they're gonna use a portion of the park area for that, it should apply to that, which it should.
Yeah.
And everything, but that's why, in discussing it could be clubs or organizations who primarily, I mean, there's all kinds of ways you could break it down. You could say their, primary place of meetings and or, practice and competition is at the park, and that would exclude the 2-hour birthday party at some place if you did it that way. I mean, if you got somebody that's regularly meeting somewhere, obviously there's more exposure than a 2-hour birthday party.
Yeah, if you just state the park, it'll cover what we need right now to get going
Right.
for the ball teams and stuff to
Right.
get going.
So should that topic then go to committee? And if it does, are you then talking about the ordinance committee or the property committee? Who then breaks it down
That,
even more?
I would say we're way out of ordinance committee
Or
at
would
this
that go
point.
into insurance?
It's certainly not ordinance committee. It's certainly not ordinance committee. I would say that's probably property committee. Because you're talking about the liability associated with the people using the property of the village. The insurance committee typically would be designed to address issues that our insurance would potentially need to cover, certain liabilities and stuff like that. And the ordinance committee, I would say, would not, because, I mean, it's gonna be a resolution in terms of the format to approve, a facility usage agreement. And what I was trying to avoid doing is we approve that. You don't wanna, depending on how far down the road you go with it, you don't wanna have to, every time somebody wants to use something, you gotta come in here and, pass a resolution to approve an agreement with, such and such organization. You just wanna say, we've approved this agreement in these terms, and then you fill in the blank, basically. So, now you could exclude certain things up front and still have your general form, which may be the conversation, but we can get it done and get it in place for what we know is the current issue coming up with people using the park for sports, and then,
And it's coming up fast.
right,
Yeah.
And then-
Hoping this is already done.
Yeah.
right, and then move it on to if it needs to other stuff.
So you'll have it done a week from today, so we can have it at our next Thursday
Yeah.
meeting? March
Should,
3rd?
yeah, should,
That gives you over a week.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll be on our agenda for Thursday too.
Okay, any other
That's it.
comments? Any questions for Troy? Okay, thanks, Troy. Police, you got a report? Any questions for the officer? Fire and EMS? I don't think anybody's here. Park? Val had another appointment. They're starting the hiring process, lifeguards and summer help. Also, they're meeting with the Baseball Association, I think, next week. So they get, so everybody's on the same
So we really
playing
gotta
field.
push you, keep your nose to the grindstone.
Cheryl, you're up.
You have the fund status report and the cash summary. You have the quote for the downtown planners, and I have a email from Kelsey today to find out if she was talking about us paying 100%. I'm losing my voice. When she said no. They're $5,723, and she would like the village to pay $5,000. So anyway, that's why you have that in there, so we can do an okay for that. Any questions on that?
Did we just replace these not too long ago, or are these something new?
We did the trash cans.
Oh, the trash cans?
Yeah.
Historically, Kent had set aside about, repeatedly, they had never actually purchased the planters and trash cans, $10,000. I can't verify whether Corey had that in his budget or not. But
He told me to let council know he did not have it in his budget at all, but if you vote for it, then the $5,000 will get paid.
Well, why does she want 5,000 though? Paperwork for the quote says 50% deposit required, and the balance is due upon the completion.
Right, I don't have to pay it all up front, but
Do we want
they're asking for
fiberglass up there?
What's that?
But they're asking for $5,000 from the village, since they're for the village.
I think your options are fiberglass or concrete to not have to deal with the rusting factor.
Concrete has worked great for us for the last 40 years.
It's kind of sloughing, isn't it? Kind
Sorry?
of sloughing off.
Oh, yeah, the planters, the concrete ones don't look great. I think the idea was to get something that matches the trash cans or pretty closely. That way the streetscape looks pretty uniform.
Could we see if businesses want to buy them and advertise on them?
No. You.
I make a motion to pay the 5,000.
Second.
You don't think we're being kind of fast sold on that thing, Eric?
We've talked about getting planters up there, new ones for a long time.
Yeah, but
They've
the
never
way that they're
per se.
pushing to get $5,000 up front?
They do all the maintenance and the planning
It's,
and,
it's not the company, you're talking, the committee's wanting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Committee.
Well, the
Beautification.
beautification committee wants the 5,000.
yeah, because they have to be made.
Right. So that 5,000 will go to California and they'll start making them.
Well, I'm only sending half of the money, so I'd send 25 when we get them.
Okay.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second if I'm allowed. I guess I'm not sure.
Better not.
I'll second.
I'll abstain.
Okay,
Thanks for the
any
committee.
other discussion on this?
I
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they do a wonderful job. I mean, they make, with the planters and the hanging baskets and the amount of time that they spend watering and all over town, not just downtown, but it's made our downtown look very nice over the years. And I know, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't do a lot kind of with helping them with those projects and keeping the downtown area and then certain areas around town looking good, the corners and different things like that, so.
Do they pay for all of the flowers that go in them? I imagine we supply the water, but do we also supply the tractor and the gas? So we do all that?
They did.
They bought
Zon-
they,
zoning trust, is that what you said?
Eagles paid for that.
Oh, the gas and the
Tractor.
tractor? Okay.
I think that paid for one. They have two.
They paid for
There's
one
two
gators.
gators, right?
Yeah, they paid for one of them.
Two gators, and then I think they pay for the gas, correct?
Mhm. They do all that themselves.
All the flowers come, all of their money is fueled by the plant sale in the spring.
That makes sense.
Do we have a first and a second? Any other discussion?
About that one.
No? This is the time before we vote. Roll call.
Beverly,
Most definitely.
Clipper,
Yes, or abstain, sorry.
Bassett,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Barth,
Yes.
Egley.
Yes.
Any questions for Cheryl?
No, I'm not done yet.
You're not done?
No, I'll
Go
do
ahead.
it.
I can barely hear you.
I know. My telephone. Tonight I put these are the telephone total for 20 and 21. And you can see we averaged $1,385. And that's telephone alone, no internet. So I have two quotes. One is from Metalink, and the other one is from SMTA, showing how much it would cost to get those fancy telephones that are internet. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, please tell me, because I don't.
Yeah.
IP phones, so everything's done through
Internet.
internet instead of hard copper lines.
So I have a quote from Metalink for $11,214.05, and a quote from SMTA for $15,024. Keeping in mind that Metalink gives us free internet now, and because their antenna's on our old water tower, and we're estimating we might still have our old water tower for between 2 and 4 years. And so we'd get free internet for that time. But I asked them how much it would be if we had to pay for the internet and the telephone is one, and it would be $944.30 a month, and SMT is $1721.20 a month. So those are your numbers to deal with.
Are we definitely doing apples to apples on that?
No, it ain't close.
I didn't think so.
One's pretty much running fiber or whatever, and the other one's wireless.
But so that's the thing, when you're looking at this, you're looking at, so SMTA's total monthly of $17.21 does include data. Whereas Metalink's, do they have a monthly on theirs?
On the third page.
And the data's the biggest thing.
And if you have
That's just
technical questions, Bob will come and talk to you
That's just the kind
and answer them.
I can only speak from my personal experience. I have no experience with Metalink. When I worked out at the dealership, we went through this transition, copper lines, and we went to SMTA, and their service was fantastic. And
they're here.
they're here. There's been, I was there for 3 years. There was no downtime as a result of SMTA issues. And the downtime was an issue based on our software or our hardware at that time. So, once again, I can't speak for Metalink to know. The wireless thing obviously can be spotty, whereas fiber is a hard line. And they're here, once again.
We have Metalink. The whole village has Metalink right now. It has had for years. I'm only saying that because we haven't had a problem.
So the thing with IP phones is like if you notice like your computer's being slow, that means your internet's slow, which means your phone calls aren't. There's a much higher likelihood of dropped calls, static, that sort of thing. So that is definitely something to consider. And once again, I'm not on the village's internet provider or service very often to know if that happens very frequently or not.
Mm-mm. I never noticed it at all. And I'm on mine all day.
I think we should look at SMTA and being one of the biggest differences that she has brought up is whether we pay for their internet or not. SMTA will negotiate. I mean, you get Ricky in here and say, hey, you know.
Well, and a lot of your monthly fees are, a lot of the fees are baked in as a result of them having to do that for regulatory purposes. So most of your negotiation comes in install fee, so your upfront cost. So that's something that.
And whether or not our internet is free or not.
I can.
You can do that with the stroke of a pen. Just part of negotiating, you know. You're buying something and you can always negotiate it when you buy something.
Absolutely.
Well, that first paragraph here, it said the phone system quote does not include the cost of us running the new lines. So to me, that's something that's not embedded in this quote, and maybe it could be a cost down the road. And
Where you
look
say?
at it.
Because it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Does include.
Yeah.
Well, it does include the cost.
It does include the cost of running new lines, is what that says.
Okay.
I'm not, I mean, this isn't a, like, absolute thing that we have to decide this meeting.
No.
I would be in favor of, having a Metalink representative, or at least sitting down with basically each company and saying, hey, this is what the other company's offering, we're trying to get an apples-to-apples comparison.
Right.
And Bob
If I was
has done that.
SMTA and 3 years ago, decided to come here, make this my home, and y'all went with Metalink, I'd be upset. You gotta back what's here in your hometown.
They have great service. I mean, even like Day in the Park, they provided free Wi-Fi for everyone down there. I mean, there's,
So why are we even discussing it?
Because
I disagree.
we got,
Due diligence.
It's not.
What's
apples to
Bob's
apples.
recommendation?
Bob's not putting in an SMTA. I'll tell you what Bob's gonna recommend.
all I know is what I have now. And right now I have Metalink. And I don't have a problem with it. And and I've been here 16 years, so.
But is yours all IP phone, or is yours just a corded phone?
Yes, we have the old relics, that's what this is about.
That's what I'm saying, this is gonna be different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
I don't
different than what
care
you
about
currently have.
the internet I already have.
I mean, like going from rotary to,
I just want the new
digital,
phone
I mean,
system.
She has to go
This
around
is
in the
completely
morning and
different.
fill up all the phones with kerosene just to get them to work.
So,
They're very old.
Cheryl, this is in the budget, so it's your decision, kind of, sort of? You just want our blessing?
Opinions,
You just want our blessing?
and I've got them.
I would lean towards SMTA.
Same here.
SMTA.
I'd like to have them both come in and kind of sell themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
So we don't need to vote on it, right,
No.
Julie? Just,
No.
just a recommendation? Okay. Anything else we need to do with that?
No, that's it.
Any questions for Cheryl? Any other comments? Okay, in the mayor's report concert series, we met last week. We're having 6 this year at the Huber on Thursdays, June, July, and August, so there'll be 6. Kind of got the date set, but we're looking for singers. Anybody in here interested in singing, let me know. But, see, what was the group out of Pettysville? A boy named Tom or a
Yeah.
girl named Tom?
Yeah.
They were asked and said, well, that's the kind of places we like to go, small, but I don't know if this town could handle all those people. But anyway, they were asked, so we'll see. No promises. Anybody got any questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay, Ron?
I would ask that we go into executive session for possible land and economic development.
Discussion.
Roll call.
Barth,
Yes.
Bassett,
Yes.
Beverly,
Yes.
Egley,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Flipper.
Yes.